Welcome to the commencement ceremony for the King class of 2020. I'd like to ask everybody to please stand for the invocation, and I'd like to invite Reverend Mark Lingle to deliver that invocation. Everybody will stay standing, please, for the national anthem right afterwards.
Let us pray. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Blessed are you, O Lord our God, creator of the universe. We give thanks for the beauty of this day, the wonder of life, and even as we live amidst the twin pandemics of the coronavirus and systemic racism, we are mindful of the gift of this moment. Bless the class of 2020 that has shown great resilience over the past years and certainly over the past months, and that gathers now to celebrate. Thank you for the love and support of parents, siblings, friends, grandparents, faculty, board members, volunteers, and staff who have had a hand in supporting these graduates over the past months and years, as well as preparing them to grow and remain resolute, compassionate, and curious about life in a rapidly changing world. May those who receive their diplomas this day continue to develop more fully into the lives that they have been given and share their gifts with the larger world for the upbuilding of our common humanity, for justice and equity in our society and world, and for the opportunity for all to live into the fullness of their lives. Make us mindful of our connection, one to another, that we possess in this world. And may we, through respect, kindness, perseverance, and integrity, always honor the dignity of every human being. Amen.
Now, Avery.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
You may be seated. Before I get going, thanks to Avery, that was just beautiful. So again, I'd like to welcome everybody to our commencement ceremony for the class of 2020. It is actually, I would say, thrilling to see all of you here on the field, especially after having spent the last few months shooing people off the field, whether I was walking the dog or just walking myself. To welcome you to your own field for this celebration is wonderful. So for all of you who are either watching this in live stream or on recorded video at some point, I am Dr. Karen Eshoo. I am the head of school here at King, and it's an honor to welcome you to join us today, whether you're parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, really good family friends, or even the family dog. I know this is a special day for lots of folks who are here in spirit, as well as for all of us who are here today in person. Now, obviously, we've always known that this is a very special group of students, but this is a group of students that is so special that we will have had by the end of today, not just one, but 2 graduations for each of the graduates of the class of 2020. And you know why? Because you're worth it. That's why. And yeah, you can applaud that, because you are. So, while some schools did drive-through graduations, we, of course, did a drive-to graduation so that everybody felt very personally the love that we have for you. And while some schools held virtual and Zoom graduations, which I can't imagine at this point, especially as I'm sitting here looking at you in person, we, of course, have chosen to be here together today. So in all of these graduation experiences that have happened for you all in the class of 2020, of course, it has taken more than a village to make all of this happen. And so I'd like to take a moment, and I would like you as the graduates to take a moment to express some gratitude to all of my colleagues and all of the families who have gone the extra mile for you to make sure that both of these graduations have been a very special experience for you. So if you could please just join me in thanking everybody who has made your graduations possible, that would be great. Thanks to everybody. Now, I realize that the year 2020 is somewhat of a bad moniker at this point. And I realize that, especially having spoken with so many of you towards the end of the school year as well, a lot of you were wondering why this had to happen to you. And obviously, I know that students, especially high school students all over the United States and around the world, have thought the same thing. And one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about during the pandemic and in the past few weeks as well, as the nation has come to really grapple with some major issues that have plagued us for a long time around racial justice, gender justice, and every other form. I keep thinking back to things that my grandmother used to say to me. I called her Nani. She is somebody who will always be very special to me. And I'm guessing that all of you have at least one person who you know is always going to love you like nobody else will ever love you. For me, that was my Nani. And one of the things that she used to say to me all the time when I would complain about my lot in life is Karen, don't forget, God put you where you need to be. And of course, when I was a teenager in particular, I'd roll my eyes, and usually my response to her was, ugh, whatevs. And while I still don't really take that literally, I think I know what she meant. And when I think about all of you and the place that you find yourselves right now, I think that what I hope, at least, that you have considered and will consider as you move forward is that your circumstances certainly can change you and they can shape you, and especially when you are in the least control possible of those circumstances. That is exactly what is happening right now. We have not been in control of a lot of the things that have been happening to us and for us and with us. And so while, of course, none of you and none of us could have ever imagined a pandemic, I have been impressed, and you've heard me say this before, with the ways in which you as individuals and you as a class have brought yourself to this challenge. And in particular, I think I've been really fascinated to see what this has brought out of you. So, for example, when I think about how you face the challenge of all of a sudden having to go to remote learning, something that you never signed up for, that's for sure, none of us did, I was impressed with the amount of tenacity that you brought to that experience, especially because you're seniors. Every senior class throughout the history of time has experienced senioritis. It was compounded for you, of course, and yet, even when you were feeling pretty shredded, it still brought out the strength in you. It also brought out the creativity in you, and it was really actually fascinating and fun to watch the ways in which you remain connected with each other, even from afar. And it also was a time when I think that for some of you at least, in ways that were visible to a lot of us, actually helped you figure out really a little bit more about what your passions are, what you really cared about. Because in times that are difficult, your priorities, I think, become more evident to you. And one of the priorities that was clear, and that you certainly made clear to me, was that your class was a priority to you. And in fact, this is one of the reasons why we worked so hard to make sure that we made this part of your graduation experience happen. Because what I heard again and again from you in a class, as a class, is that you wanted to make sure that you had at least one chance to be together again before you went off to live your lives. And so here we are. And so I think that the clarity that I think that you have found is certainly going to serve you well. You've developed perspective, of course, that you couldn't have had if you hadn't had to go through what you did. And my guess is that you will see this time and again as you continue to live your lives. The most important lessons tend to be the ones that we learn the hardest ways. And while I certainly hope that you don't have to learn them in quite this way ever again for the rest of your lives, I do hope that there are at least some experiences that you can take away from these last few months that tell you who you are and what you're here for. Because each of you has a purpose. And as you continue to shape your own paths moving forward, hopefully that purpose that you, at least in some ways, have found over the last few months is going to become even more clear to you. And I think that in particular, what I would encourage you to remember is the experiences that you had in relationship with one another. Because you can work really, really hard for the rest of your lives. You can make bajillions of dollars. But if you're not doing that surrounded by people who you love and who love you and who are willing to tell you the truth about yourself in a way that actually supports you and keeps you moving forward, then who cares? None of it is worth it. And I know that you know that now. I know that you know that love is not something that is a nice to have. You know that it's a need to have. It's what gives your life purpose, and it gives your life meaning. And in turn, when you love those who surround you and support you, that means that you're actually bringing meaning to their lives and their experiences as well. So all of the qualities that I've described that I know characterize you as a class, whether it's tenacity, creativity, resolve, gratitude. Gratitude is another thing I've seen you do very well so far, and love itself. These are all the building blocks of your resilience. And this is, I think, going to be the calling card of the King class of 2020. It is that you are resilient. You can bounce back. You can dig into yourself. I won't say the words, these are hers to say. But you can dig into yourselves and find what you need to persevere. And that is remarkable. And so while I know that those are things that oftentimes, you hear adults saying to you, I'm saying this to you in particular right now, in the summer of 2020, because you're ready. You're absolutely ready to go out into the world. And that's great, because I've got news for you, in case you haven't noticed. The world is a very tough place. It's a tough place because we have made it that way. And I'm looking at you as the ones who can help us figure out now how to unmake the mistakes that unfortunately we have continued to make over too long of a period of time. So here at this last stop in your graduation extravaganza, I want to share a few things about your future that I hope for you. Because while we have been focused a whole lot, as we should, on you and your wonderfulness, I am also here to tell you, as you go out into the world, that it is not all about you. And that can be a difficult message to hear sometimes. But here's what I really hope for you. I hope that as you go out into the world, you remember that you do not have a corner on the truth. Nobody does. And that you are going to spend the rest of your lives constructing your truth by surrounding yourself with people who love you, again, enough to tell you the truth. And I hope that as you go down that road with all the people in your life, that you remain open to learning. You've shown us here at school that you are very, very open to learning. And one of my greatest hopes for you is that you continue to lean into that. I hope that you can continue to hold on to your values, always, whatever those might be, while also believing that other people's experiences, no matter how different that they are from your own, are just as real and just as important as yours, and that helps to shape your understanding of what is true. I hope that every now and then you actually check your followers on Instagram, or if you're trying to be really retro and you have friends on Facebook too, check those as well. And check to make sure that you are followed by, and that you are following people who don't all agree with you, people who are going to challenge you. You need that, and frankly, you deserve that. Because again, nobody has a corner on the truth. It's up to you to construct your own. I hope that you're courageous enough to lean into discomfort. I hope that you're brave enough to be generous, especially when it's easier not to be. And I hope that your passions, whatever they are going to be enough to impel you to take action, an action that serves others just as much as it serves you. It's the harder way. It's the better way, and the world needs you to do that. Now, I do believe that you learned a lot of this here. Now, you probably learned it really imperfectly, because we are, of course, an imperfect school that has a lot of work to do, and we're going to do it. But also remember that what gets learned here leaves here. That is extremely important. So take it with you and use it like it actually matters, because it does. Use it like it's actually not all about you. That will be the greatest gift that you can give to the world. And so, as usually at this point, at the end of my talk, I like to quote other people who can always say things much better than I. One of them is a mythologist. His name is Dr. Martin Shaw. And one of the things that he reminds us, and I think it's especially pertinent right now, is that there is nothing ordinary about decency, about courage under fire, about compassion, tenacity, or lion-heartedness. And that is what is being called forth in a moment, in a deeply mythical moment like this one. And those are the opportunities that you have. The reason I'm so optimistic is because I've already seen you bring all of that to bear on your experiences so far. And then, of course, there is the civil rights giant, John Lewis, a man who lived his life like it really mattered, and like Black Lives Mattered long before it was a hashtag. He actually wrote in what was his final essay that was published yesterday, the same day as his funeral, something that I think perfectly captured how I feel about you as a class. You fill me with hope about the next chapter of the great American story when you use your power to make a difference in our society. I know that you've done that in our little tiny society here at King. It's been impactful. And so as you get ready to go off again and live your lives, I just cannot wait to see what kind of impact you make, and how broad and deep that impact can be on a world that needs you. So thanks for being there for the world. Thanks for being here with us. We are grateful to know you, to have known you, and we look forward to continuing to be in relationship with you as you go out into the world. Thank you. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Chair of the Board of Trustees, Mr. Tom King. Mr. King has just finished his first year as the chair of the board, having served on the board for years before that. He is the parent of 2 graduates of the class of 2020, and also one daughter who is going into her sophomore year here at King. And I know that this is an extra special day for Mr. King as well. So, Tom, over to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Eshoo. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, welcome to parents, faculty, staff, family, friends, alumni, and all the King community that couldn't be physically here with us today. And of course, welcome to our pride and joy, the incredible class of 2020. Guys, you can clap for yourself. There's nobody else here. It is indeed a privilege to be able to speak to you today, and it's an honor to share this incredible moment with this incredible class. I feel like I know this class very well. I saw a chunk of you survive the mosh pit of middle school. Others I saw join the onslaught midstream. But as a group, you've emerged and developed as accomplished scholars, performers, athletes, thinkers, citizens, and most importantly, purposeful people. I've watched the character development in this long-running series about 84 kids growing up at the King School. It would have made a great Netflix original. And yes, there are many episodes in the series I wish I could leave on the cutting room floor. And I'm sure if I made eye contact right now with a couple of you, I could turn you a deep shade of red. I won't do that, but I've seen a lot of stuff. But without a doubt, though unfinished, this is an inspirational story with much, much more to come. There are a few things that I think are defining about the character of this group and their relationship to each other and their relationship to the school. Interestingly, at last year's graduation, I saw the same dynamic, and I'm quite sure it's existed at King for a long, long time. As I've considered this, it reinforces my belief that King is both unique in its experience and special in its character, and for those willing to take full advantage of what it has to offer, it is both formative and formidable. First, the bond between faculty, staff, and students is genuine, and it's both professional and personal. And last year, you could see it in the speeches and feel it in the hugs and looks. At graduation, the words that Karen and Marnie and the teachers shared with the students. And I have seen it firsthand with this group, in the halls, on the athletic fields, on and off the campus. And it was certainly present when Karen and Marnie and the Viking and the whole team did the home delivery of the June graduation. Many of us grew up in an era when education was imparted from those that had the knowledge to those that didn't. And there was some beauty in that passing of the font, but not nearly comparable to the much more personal journey of awakening a curious mind, to the process of discovering the how versus the what. King teachers light that path, and these students appreciate it. And quite frankly, as a parent, it's been awe-inspiring to watch. And I'm sure this group will continue to forge those critical relationships as they enter their next phase of life and education. Second, this group has a sense of identity, as last year's class did. No, it's not all one big group of besties, not a 100-person friend group, but there is a strong bond. There's a sense that there is a unit, that you've succeeded on this highly eventful, up and down trip through adolescence, in part because the collective, not the individual, had the requisite provisions. I have seen how you have assimilated new students, not always smooth, not always pretty, not always easy, but you've appreciated each other's talents and appreciated each other's views. And that's not easy in the competitive world of sports and grades and college admissions. In the end, you've looked out for each other, supported each other, celebrated in times of victory and accomplishment. And finally, as Karen said, I'm struck by your commitment to impact the world. It's easier just to take the rules of life as given and do what's necessary to succeed, to set your goals in terms of college admissions, grades, jobs, happiness. And those things are important. They matter. And they matter to us as parents. We want you to have all those things. But with the privilege of a King experience comes responsibility. And I'm genuinely proud that this group feels the weight of that. Yes, this group is confident at times in the extreme. But there's also a quiet humility as well about the daunting challenges before you. Our legacy as parents is out here sitting in these chairs. Your legacy is yet to be written. But as you burst into the world of adults, I've never been more confident or more optimistic. Now, I recognize this could be a point where I stopped, especially since the only request my twins had was that I was brief. But let me offer one last thought. Our Constitution bestowed on each of you the inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To me, the key word in this much overused quote is pursuit. A very active verb, the word pursuit. So get after it. This is your time. Accomplishment, inspiration, passions will not always be looking for you. Sometimes you'll have to go and find them, and they might be hiding. And I'm sure they won't be hiding on YouTube or Xbox. So dream big, work hard, find your fulfilling life. Climb your Everest, not to show what you did, not to plant your flag, but to test your mettle, to enjoy the air, and to look out over the horizon. You have the tools to change the world, and that should give you confidence. But every day you have to make a choice to do the right thing, and that's not always the easy thing. In fact, it's often not the easy thing. Take those next steps. Good luck and God bless, and congratulations to the class of 2020.
Thank you, Mr. King. For those of you watching via live stream, my name is Marnie Sadlowsky. It is my honor to serve as the head of upper school, and a special welcome to the faculty who are also watching via live stream and wish very much that they could be here. It is an honor for me to introduce this year's valedictorian, Kat King. But before I jump in, I want to say that I've chosen this year to include quite a few voices of a range of faculty in my introductions to both Kat and Patrick, our senior speaker, as I want the faculty to be represented through their memories of these students because they are watching via live stream and you can't see their proud faces. Though their voices are speaking about Kat and Patrick, and you're going to hear about Kat and Patrick, I hope you recognize in their comments the love and support they've had for all of you as you moved through King's hallways, fields, courts, studios, stages, and classrooms. So, Kat King. When I introduced Kat at speech night earlier this spring, I chose to do so from my home den, or library, which is full of books about almost any subject you can imagine and represents a wide range of genres and viewpoints. I chose this space because this year's valedictorian is a genuine intellectual who already has her own personal library in her mind at such a young age. Today, Kat is graduating with 23 honors, AP, and advanced seminar courses under her belt, but as Miss Jessica Landis points out, her decisions about which courses to take were never motivated by the designation, but rather she sought out a curriculum that would challenge her in all areas and push her to grow intellectually. In the words of Miss Landis, quote, "Kat has never once asked me whether a particular course would look better to colleges than another. She has a pure and abiding love of learning and a thirst to push ever deeper in her pursuit of knowledge," unquote. Dr. Daniel Block, too, points to Kat's commitment to learning. In his words, quote, "Kat King has distinguished herself as a paragon of academic excellence. As she demonstrated with her special project on William Wordsworth and Jane Austen, Kat's skill at interpreting demanding texts is matched only by her ability to marshal a pointed argument." Thank you, Kat, for enriching our community with your humane intelligence and willingness to learn from everyone, unquote. Mr. Christos Galanopoulos adds, quote, "She is a stylistic conversationalist and an awesome writer. Her textual analysis is so highly articulate and clearly expressed that I remember oftentimes saying to her that," and I think those of you who've had Mr. Galanopoulos will get the high praise here, "it could not be worded any better than that," unquote. Mrs. Tricia Manganello recalls the ways in which Kat added to our culture of learning by enriching, as Dr. Block had said, our whole community, including her teachers. She writes, quote, "One of my fondest memories of teaching Kat was the time we had together after the seniors left for their projects, and she was the lone junior left in AP Lit. I suggested we read a book together, and we decided on Beloved. We had lovely conversations about the book. Knowing there would be no formal writing on it, we could move through a range of topics. Kat's engagement with literature, her ability to make meaning, and the eloquence with which she speaks about it was a learning experience for me as a teacher as well. Aside from her academic and intellectual powers, our teachers' stories point to other important aspects of Kat's character. For example, Mrs. Jenna Dupuis, Jenna Temple, remembers Kat as an 8th grader in her honors algebra course. Jenna says, quote, "I just remember always looking at her in class because she constantly had a smile on her face, and she always laughed at my horrible jokes. She's the student that every teacher wants to see simply because of her positive presence." And finally, she has influenced our youngest learners, and I know this can be said for so many of you. This is a great story from Mrs. Megan Yelton. Quote, "Maddie met Kat in the after-school program and quickly formed a bond with her. I got to hear many stories on our car ride home about how amazing Kat was. So when Karen Raidt reached out to say that some upper schoolers were interested in having online meetings with lower schoolers, we jumped at the chance and we requested Kat. Despite balancing a rigorous academic schedule with extracurricular commitments, Kat never missed a weekly Zoom meeting with Maddie right up until the last week of school. These interactions with Kat, where they would read books online, paint, or do craft projects, soon became the highlight of the week for Maddie during King is Home. The personal attention Kat gave to Maddie boosted her spirits during a very challenging spring, and I can't thank her enough. Kat we are proud of you and your accomplishments and know that you will bring all of yourself to Yale University this fall and make us very proud in the ongoing years to come. Class of 2020, faculty and families at home, this year's valedictorian, Kat King.
Thank you, Ms. Sadlowsky, for the kind introduction. Dr. Eshoo, trustees, faculty, parents, family, friends, alumni, and of course the amazing class of 2020. It is an honor and a pleasure to represent you today. I love you all. My yearbook quote was, "There's no place like home." But after 91 days of sheltering in place, instead of spending our days here at King, my new mantra is definitely, "There's no place like school." I can't tell you how much I've missed this place. My teachers, coaches, and most importantly, all of you are a group I will never take for granted again. Being away from school has really given me the chance to think about three things: the importance of relationships, what makes King so special, and finally, the value of a King education and the obligations that attach. This afternoon, I will touch on each of these. The poet-philosopher Khalil Gibran said, "When you part from your friend, grieve not. For that which you love most in him may be clearer in his absence, as the mountain to the climber is clearer from the plain." I think we all had a chance to gaze from a distance at our relationships and to take in the beauty of what they really mean to us. I could not have imagined, coming into this class as a sixth grader, that these years would be so formative. I'm confident that the experiences we've had, the things we've learned, but most importantly, the relationships we've built will last a lifetime. I feel so fortunate to be a part of this amazing group. Our class is full of passionate and talented people: students, athletes, musicians, coders, writers, and so much more. It's also filled with students who are truly and unapologetically passionate about what they believe in. And naturally, viewpoints tend to conflict. But I believe that the true measure of our character as a class is that despite these differences, we treat one another with real respect and compassion. While we're not one giant group of best friends, we are a cohesive unit, always picking each other up when we're down and supporting each other in the most difficult moments. One small personal experience I would like to share with you illustrates this point. On the day I was supposed to hear back from college, I was a nervous wreck. I was so anxious and uncertain about how I'd feel about myself if I didn't get in. Feelings I'm sure all of you felt at some point or another this year. As I was leaving school that day, one of you came up to me and said, "Kat, even if you aren't admitted, don't worry. I know you deserve to be." I felt so relieved knowing that my classmates supported me and accepted me no matter what. It was far more important than the judgments of some college admissions panel. And this was not some isolated act of kindness. I've heard countless stories just like this one from so many of you. The other thing that is amazing about this class is that we're curious to know more about how our peers view the world and are willing to sit down and actually listen. I know, rare. There's a lesson in this approach that is especially poignant in today's world. We're in a rare moment where this country must address the insidious problems of racism and social injustice, but we will only find workable solutions if we both talk and listen. Emphasis on listen. It must be said today and every day that Black Lives Matter. We as a nation have already begun to learn these important lessons, though all of us have a long way to go. I will always be grateful to the class of 2020 for teaching me the power of humility, and to the King School and my teachers for showing me how to engage in those difficult conversations and have the courage to change my mind. To that end, the teachers at King are a huge part of what has made this experience so special to all of us. In the book Educated, Tara Westover said, "First, find out what you're capable of, then decide who you are." On behalf of my class, we can't thank the teachers enough for striving to do just that. Show us what we're capable of every single day. We may not have always appreciated it in the moment, but we're grateful that you always pushed us to the limits of our abilities and showed us the magnitude of what we could accomplish if we set our minds to it. Over these past 4 years, our teachers have put incredible time and effort into making our experiences meaningful. And there are countless examples, like Dr. Block meeting with me on Fridays at 7 to discuss romantic literature, or Mr. G's incredible passion for philosophy and teaching his students about the Greek culture. And who could have missed Mr. Roche announcing and cheering us on from the sidelines at virtually every sporting event? We certainly all felt the love when Dr. Eshoo, Miss Sadlowsky, and so many of our teachers came to each and every one of our houses to celebrate our original graduation date. For many of us, your passion for education has inspired us to pursue our own passions. Two of my favorite books are Educated by Tara Westover and Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. In each of these, one a work of fiction and one autobiographical, the protagonist has to overcome near impossible odds to fight for their education. To have an education, however you got there, and each of our journeys were unique, carries with it an obligation. My dad loved dropping my siblings and me off before school, and he always gave the same advice as we unloaded out of the car. Change the world. No pressure there. But seriously, while that may seem like a big task, learning and growing with all of you has helped me begin to envision what our generation can achieve. It's no secret that there's turmoil and unrest in the world. However, with that comes an opportunity for our generation to be great stewards and to leave the world a better place than we found it. Sitting here today as a member of this amazing, talented class inspires optimism. I know this class will invest its time and its talents into the things we're passionate about. We will make a difference. And we've already seen you all in action, be it Diana's incredible work with Feed My Starving Children, the soccer team's years of devotion to the Orphan Starfish Foundation, Kim's powerful speech on colorism at the Regional Student Diversity Leadership Conference, or the Real Talk Club's willingness to breach any controversial topic. I can't wait to hear about all of the great things that you'll accomplish as you embark on this new journey. So if I could leave you with one final thought, it would be that we are ready. And while that may sound like an oversimplification, it's really important. Look at the world we're graduating into. It's easy to feel overwhelmed and even afraid. I know I've felt those things. But these years have provided us with the ability to think critically and to adapt to a changing and uncertain world. More than that, our time at King has equipped us with an enormous support network of great friends, parents, and teachers. We're in this together. I have no doubt that you will face the challenges of next year and beyond with grace, respect, and courage. This is and should be a moment of optimism. You are incredible, and I'm so proud to be a part of the class of 2020. Congratulations to all of you.
Thank you so much, Kat. This year, I have the privilege of introducing our class of 2020 senior speaker, Patrick Raidt. Patrick, as you all know, is a lifer here at King, and as I said at our speech night earlier this spring, he is widely known as a caring, warm, incredibly versatile student, athlete, musician, actor, and human being. Indeed, according to his college counselor, Miss Emily Prince, quote, "When we talk about doing high school well, we think of Patrick. He epitomizes that expression. He has fully utilized every single opportunity that King has to offer," unquote. And when Patrick seized opportunities, he of course demonstrated his character along the way, and I think you all know that. One of these opportunities was in the King Theater, of course. According to Mr. Mark Silence, quote, "Patrick started his U.S. theater upper school theater career up in the catwalk, running the spotlight, and he finished triumphantly as Uncle Fester, once again lighting up the stage. One particular memory I have of Patrick was during the run of Mamma Mia. One of the safety brakes on a platform had broken, and Patrick came to get me at intermission. We worked together quickly and efficiently to repair it in time for the second act," unquote. Patrick recognized a challenge and rose to the occasion. And another story from Ms. Lydon. She explains, quote, "When I taught Pat, we joke regularly throughout the year about football, as he is a die-hard New England Patriots fan and I a Philadelphia Eagles fan. Our banter ramped up quite a bit when it came down to the Patriots squaring off with the Eagles in the 2018 Super Bowl. While I admit I was incredibly nervous for the Eagles to face the seemingly invincible Brady and the Pats, it made the Eagles' victory that much more thrilling and emotional. But what made it even more memorable was that early Monday morning when, before the day even began, Patrick visited me in my classroom. As I was at the whiteboard preparing for my lessons, he walked into the room and in his usual friendly, cheerful voice, he said, 'Good morning, Senora. I just wanted to congratulate you on the Eagles' Super Bowl win. Great game.' I thanked him and let him know that it was a very kind and mature thing of him to visit me and congratulate me in person. It's a testament to his good nature and honorable character." Another insight into Patrick's character comes from Miss Rachel Ackley when she taught him last fall in our media elective. In her words, quote, "My fondest memory of Patrick was during our one and only formal debate. The students considered the question of whether WikiLeaks is good for democracy. Pat was clearly asked to be on the side he personally disagreed with at the outset. Undeterred, he collaborated with his group to create a substantial line of argumentation to defend the right to publish classified material. Individually, he excelled at asking the opposition piercing questions. He was quick with the facts and strong in delivery. It was a wonderful performance. And Patrick, you've performed well here, as I said, for a very long time, but we know you're not just performing in the sense of playing a role. As Mr. Tom Decker points out, it has been a joy to watch Patrick grow into a fine young man that he has become since the day he was born. Having Georgia, my daughter, be a lifer alongside him and a few others, it has been a special gift to observe his growth and development. He has been at King for over the past 18 years, daycare included. He's a wonderful example of who we describe as a great King kid. We all here agree with Mr. Decker, and we know that Patrick will continue to shine at Holy Cross, the next step in his educational journey. Ladies and gentlemen, Patrick Raidt, our class of 2020 senior speaker.
All right. Good afternoon, students, faculty, families watching at home, and anyone else who might have walked in from Newfield Avenue. For those of you who either don't know me or forgot who I was, since we haven't been in school since April, my name is Patrick Raidt, and I've been a student at King for practically my whole life. I started my time here when I was just 7 weeks old in faculty daycare at that red house that's right over there by the lower school. But even before then, this school was a special place for me. As I stated in my virtual speech back during our original graduation week, it was at the school that my dad first met my mom, and it was where I also took my first steps, once again, at that exact building. But more importantly, this school is the place where I got to meet every member of the class of 2020. But before I get into the heart of this speech, I would just like to take a moment to thank every person who has contributed to the growth and success of the class of 2020. This includes every teacher from lower to upper school who have taught members of the senior class in order to help us succeed both in and out of the classroom. I would also like to thank all the parents and guardians of members of the senior class for your continued guidance and support throughout our educational journey so far. I would like to thank the students of King School who make this campus and community a warm and welcoming place for all, and one that I and the rest of the senior class are proud to have been a part of. Thank you to Jake Cohen for keeping us all connected and together during these difficult times. And lastly, I would like to thank Ms. Sadlowsky, Dr. Eshoo, and the rest of the King Upper School administration for their continued communication, adaptability, and encouragement, not just during this current health crisis, but throughout all of our high school careers. So on behalf of the senior class, thank you to everyone who has helped each and every one of us become the young men and women that you see today. Now with all that boring stuff out of the way, let's talk about the class of 2020, or who can now officially be known as the newest contributors to the Alumni Fund. Given the current state of the world, I would guess that most people would probably expect these speeches today to be about how all of us in the class of 2020 had to unfortunately celebrate the end of our senior year apart from each other. However, rather than focusing on the situation we find ourselves in currently, I would instead like to focus on the past 14 years that I've been a member of the King community, as well as everything about our grade that sets us apart from King senior classes, both past and future. When looking back at the past 14 years that this class has been at King, one can see just how much we have changed over the years. Unlike the cafeteria menu, which I believe has remained the same ever since I first started here all the way back in 2006. We've seen our grade grow dramatically from the group of 22 kids back in pre-K to the now almost 90 graduates you see today. We have all seen classmates and friends join our grade over the years, some leave, and even a couple return. However, it is this group of students today that has made me proud to be a member of the King community for as long as I have. One thing that I've noticed over the years is that whenever I stop and look around at this group of students, it's obvious that every single person is unique in their own way. I see a class full of scholars, athletes, musicians, scientists, artists, volunteers, and leaders. This list could go on and on. However, what I believe makes this grade different from the rest is that instead of having these differences separate everyone from each other, which we all know is how cliques are formed thanks to all of our life skills classes, no matter who you are, where you come from, or what your passions are, everyone within the class of 2020 is connected in one way or another. We deeply care about and support each other in a way that I've never seen in any other senior class at King. Whether it's coming together to cram for one of Dr. K's AP calculus tests, enduring the high drama that occurred on the river cruise during the 5th grade Boston trip, enduring, or all of the late nights we spent trying to meet essay deadlines for both Mr. G and Mr. Learnicum, This group of students have always found ways to stay together and connected throughout anything and everything. Now, as I said in the few words I gave during the senior May Day breakfast, this school has been like a second home to me in more ways than one, and I would not want to have it any other way. To the class of 2020, you guys are more than just friends to me. You are the people I grew up with, the people I've experienced many different milestones and celebrations with, but most importantly, you are the people that have made me proud to call King my home for the past 18 years of my life. Even though for most of us, this marks the end to our educational journey together as we go off to college, I can say that with certainty, that for all of us, no matter where we go in life, we will always be connected because in my eyes, we are more than just a group of students. We are a family. Thank you for taking the time to listen to me today. And to the class of 2020, whether you've been here since the beginning like me or just joined last year, thank you for everything you have done for me, each other, and the King community as a whole. And I, for one, cannot wait to see what the future holds for all of us. Now, as most of you might already know, I'm a huge fan of music. So to end this speech, I wanted to leave you all with this lyric section from the song Good Times by my favorite band, All Time Low. And it goes like this. I never want to leave this sunset town, but one day the time may come, and I'll take you at your word and carry on. I'll hate the goodbye, but I won't forget the good times. Thank you.
We will now move on to the presentation of diplomas. Class of 2020, please take your diplomas in your hand and hang on to them. When your name is called, you know what to do. You will stand up, you will hold up your diploma, and you will turn around so that everybody can see you, cheer for you, and show you the love. Ms. Sadlowsky.
Thank you. Okay, class of 2020. Here we go, in alphabetical order. Harry Beckett Amadeo. Jack Henry Armstrong. Jacqueline Bourivage Bamford. Carly Hannah Berry. Caleb Hunter Banquet. Ruby Kit Beenan. Olivia Catherine Borchetta. Allison Jean Braver. George T. Sheffy. William Oliver Klein. Jake Maverick Cohen. Robert Anthony Camarado. Christina Contandino. Jack Thomas Coughlin. Spencer Creveling. Erica Rose Cunningham. Dixie Jane D'Amelio. Catherine Lyons Dardany. Mark Walter Davies. Samantha Rose De Chiara. Georgia Deborah Decker. Diana Carol Degnan. Eric David Dechter. Samantha Falcon. Charlie Feinstein. James Turner Franco. Carrie Joseph Gallagher. Lauren Mary Garrigue. Eitan Philip Ganger. Brian Gomez. Charlotte Olivia Haight. Will Ruslan Hall Tipping. Christine Flynn Hansen. Danielle Elizabeth Hazelton. Eliza K. Heaton. Andrew Christopher Jennings. McKinley Joseph. Wyatt Cole Kane. Catherine Lynn King. Thomas Gerard King. Jacqueline Charlotte Klein. Davis Paul Knight. Madeline Judith Kyle. Timothy Sumner Landis. Avery Rose Lanus. Kate Isabel Leibowitz. J.C. Catherine Rose Levithan. Caden Fane Lintz. Kaylin Rose Main. Abigail Leslie Mancuso. Peter Marion Marsh. Terrence Leonard McGrath. Dylan Joseph McMorrow. Ethan James McOsker. Thomas William Morris. Michelle Cara Muley. Grace Catherine O'Connor. Christopher Maxwell Parrott. Sophie Pastor. Taylor Diamond Perlman. Jessica Lauren Price. Patrick O'Keefe Raidt. Lily Taylor Reichenbaum. Alex Harrington Rogers. Gwyneth Faber Rothman. Jessica Jade Rosen. James Lewis Scanlon. Andrew Daly Scarlatta. Mark Davis Shatton. Olivia Catherine Sheridan. Alec Malin Sherman. Genevieve Beatrice Scholes. Luke John Stenise. Amber Simone Tapscott. Catherine Hope Tifford. Justin Torres West. Allison Rosalie Triano. Jack Vanek. Kimberly Sandrine Villard. Blake James Waldner. Christopher Janos Weingarten. Esme Nia White. James Zhao. Lucrezia Julia Zakiki. Congratulations to all of you. Please stand and recognize each other.
Yay. Class of 2020, please face me. Make sure that your tassel is on the right. Many of you have heard me give this speech before. Is that the drone? Oh, sorry, it's the drone. All right, here's what we're going to do. When I give you the word in just a moment, you're going to move your tassel from right to left. So, King, class of 2020, by the power vested in me as head of school, I here pronounce you as graduates of King School. You may move your tassels. Congratulations, class of 2020. And is it time for the yes? Benediction first. Okay, so please remain standing for Mr. Lingle to give us the benediction.
Congratulations, graduates. I quote from a wonderful author, Frederick Buechner. Listen to your life. See it for the fathomless mystery that it is, in the and pain of it, no less than in the excitement and gladness. Touch, taste, smell your way to the holy and hidden heart of it, because in the last analysis, all moments are key moments, and life itself is grace. Blessings on all of you for the journey. Amen.
So, class of 2020, a couple of reminders for you, please. First of all, in just a moment, when I give you the word, you are going to be able to throw your hats into the air. When you do that, you're going to just leave them on the ground because we are going to mail them back to you, okay? The second thing I want to remind you of is that you have bells that are next to your seats. Those are your gift from us. You'll keep those bells, hopefully forever. And as you exit the field, you will ring yourselves out of King. And then finally, before we go on to the very last part of this, I just want to say one more time how unbelievably proud I am, and I know every one of your teachers is of you in this moment. And again, we can't wait to see what you do out in the world. It's going to be so much better because of you. And by the way, now that you're graduates, you no longer call me Dr. Eshoo, you just call me Karen. I hope I don't give you a reason to call me a Karen. Could have been any other name, really. But now I am Karen, yes. If they catch it, can they bring it home, Ms. Sadlowsky? Oh, only Erica. If Erica catches it. Let's see how it goes. Let's see how it goes. Okay, and then Ms. Sadlowsky, any other announcements? Oh, the gowns.
Just remember, on the way out, you want to put your gowns in the box. We'll take care of those for you. The hats and tassels, and I have an extra up here in case someone lost one.
Are yours to keep.
All right, here we go. This is the fun part. Class of 2020, congratulations on your graduation from King School. Go. Yay!
Ring yourselves out, please. Congratulations, class of 2020. When you are ready, masks on, and you can recess with your